Hello, sumo fans. Oh man, wild and crazy times. There's no dull sumo, I don't think. So a couple things. First and foremost, congratulations to Tamawashi, who absolutely destroyed, and that's such a good feeling. For notes, the recording today, unfortunately, Maria and I could not get together and do our duo, so it is going to be a bit of a solo run for me. Maria has been doing some live streams intermittently. We are trying to get a schedule where that's a little bit more common so that we can talk with you guys about sumo and have some more fun. Maria has put in her own take on the tournament as it's gone on, particularly when it comes to Takakeisho and that controversy. She did a real good job of sort of summing up a lot of the moving parts about that. So I would recommend checking out those live streams that have happened in the past, and please keep an eye out for future live streams so that we can chat with you and keep that sumo ball rolling during the down times. But I will keep things going. There's a lot of stuff. Oh man, I was going through my notes. I'm like, I got a lot of notes this time. I don't think I usually have these many notes. But anyway, we will start as we always do at the top with Terunofuji, who, the visually pleasing 5-5 and 5 aside, as the egg timers went off on one of those knees, it seems. So for Terunofuji, I have a mixture of sadness and also relief in a way. He had some exciting matches, he always does. The day one with Kiribayama, like off the rip, awesome sumo. His fights with Tobizaru and Takayasu, even though he lost both of those were really fun, exciting matches. Now, there is a big knee-shaped asterisk on all of these wins and losses, because, if Terunofuji was healthy, as is always the case, then he wouldn't be having any trouble. He would just smash. We were a little concerned. Maria had actually brought it up first that, around when he lost to Ura, he was 3-3 and not looking good. And we're like, he needs to pull out. This is typically when Terunofuji pulls out. And he didn't pull out. He kept fighting. We're like, uh-oh, why is he still fighting? Usually if you're going to go down on your sword like that, it's because you're leaving. So we were a little concerned. He finally pulls out on day 10. And then we find out the reality, which is that both of his knees are bad, and one of them is like not even lined up properly, just a complete mess, and will require surgery. So my take is that Terunofuji knew that after this tournament, it would just be off to the operating room, and then would miss at least one tournament's worth of sumo. So what he was trying to do is fight for as long as he physically could, because once he went Kyujo, he's gone until 2023. That's my thought. So, props to Terunofuji for just toeing the line, full well knowing the disaster zone known as 2/3 of the Ozeki, or 3/3, depending on your current state of mind, which is particularly valid. So the hope is, optimistically, staying positive, staying hopeful, Terunofuji gets that knee replaced or realigned, whatever. Takes the time he needs to get fixed. Then he's able to come back in March or January, optimistically, but let's say March. Let's give him 2 Bashos of rest. Comes back and does 15-0s. That's my hope. Fingers crossed. So Terunofuji, please rest well, be healthy, happy, and just know that the reckoning is yet to come. Okay, so now we are going to, oh boy, Takakeisho, 10-5, only Ozeki to not only get Kachikoshi, but get double-digit wins, which is the Ozeki Kachikoshi. I'm going to start talking about 14 out of 15 days for Takakeisho, because I feel like that particular point is just completely lost. And then we'll talk about a certain day 12 versus Hokutofuji. So, order of operations. So, 14 out of 15 days, we are seeing Takakeisho's ability to, I'll say, improvise or not be as one note as he typically has been, improving. He's gotten some power back. He did have that ankle taped, which was a little concerning, but he got through the whole tournament. So, however, even if it was bad, he was able to sort of patch it together. So he is showing some of that blast sumo he's known for. He just blasted Tobizaru into the stands. He's like, get out. The big thing this time around is endurance. So fighting against Meisei and Ura, both of those guys dragged Takakeisho. Well, deep water for him is like, I don't know, 15 seconds, but still longer matches. Typically, if you can endure the opening salvo from Takakeisho, it's all sumo sense for him from there. And he does well there. He wins both of those fights. So Meisei, bless Meisei. I'm going to talk about him. My God, he had a great time. Just crashes into him like 3, 4, 5 times. Takakeisho is then eventually able to survive it. Gets a bit concussed. I think it was either it was Nishikifuji gets a little concussed from the smashing. So Takakeisho, again, just laying it all out there. Still has that weird thing that he's got a bone to pick with Kotonowaka, because every time those two guys fight, he just cracks him, but he beats him. Reversal win versus Takayasu. So Takayasu, again, was on a tear, and Takakeisho was just like, I'm gonna have sumo sense while running backwards. I'm like, okay, improving. This is what Takakeisho needs to do if his main tool is either withering away, or he can't get it back, or people are figuring it out, whatever. And again, double-digit wins, no Katoban, and from the looks of things, the only person at the top of these rankings with any amount of presence. Okay, so day 12 versus Hokutofuji. Takakeisho Henkas. God, guys. So I can't even get this out. This was hilarious to me. Okay, so, like, in a vacuum, Takakeisho, Ozeki, Hokutofuji, not only just a rank and filer, but a title contender. And Henkas were like, this is super bad news. This is shameful. And it is. And I'll also note, again, Maria did a big breakdown on this. It's sort of the negative repercussions. So why it's funny to me is everything else surrounding this. So there is the repercussions. There is if an Ozeki is henkaing, then everybody else is going to. There's a lot of henkas this tournament, but we're not going to get into the specifics of them unless it comes up. If you were writing a novel, if this was a TV show, and on day 12 Takakeisho henkas Hokutofuji, you'd be like, hell no, that makes no sense. You can't do that. Takakeisho, he's the honorable one. He's holding the line. So then he does it, and outside of the initial shock, then there's Hokutofuji, who gets up off the ground and looks like somebody told him his dog died. This is the most absurd thing that could possibly happen out of this. That Takakeisho, meanwhile, Shodai and Mitakeumi are stinking up a storm. And I keep, like, all my notes, I'm like, oh, thank God Takakeisho is at least keeping a semblance of Ozeki pride. Terunofuji out. No Ozeki to even speak of, really. And our closest hope is just now restarting his Ozeki run. And so what does Takakeisho do with this? How does Takakeisho handle being the only man with any sort of gumption? He throws it out! Oh, my God. Guys, you've got to take some of this stuff with a little bit of humor. And another thing to keep in mind is that we are dealing with 42 very powerful, but also very human individuals. This part of any combat sport, any sort of a high physical encounter, is that it is one of the most human things to just put yourself in these like immense stress situations and fight your way out. So it's, at the end of the day, it's hilarious to me. And then the next day, Wakatakakage hankas him right back. when I saw that, it was almost a relief. I'm like, okay, the balance has been restored. Wakatakakage knew his job was to just unhenka the universe. Just like do an anti-henka, and then boom. Now everything's fine. Takakeisho has, in 2 short days, upset the balance, and then the bitter irony was reaped. So bless Wakatakakage for that. I feel like this is just going to be a thing that's going to hang over Takakeisho's head. For better or for worse, whether or not it's fair. And, you know, it's one of those things, like, you have there's the nice guy in class who's always playing by the rules, who's always doing something nice, and then there's that one day he just, like, obviously breaks the rules. And then it hangs over his head. And then you have, the back of the class who are busy, drawing on the desks and putting gum on the floor. They're breaking the rules left and right, but you almost don't even notice. And then, here's squeaky clean guy who, throws an eraser at somebody. And you're like, why you threw that eraser? And then it's going to follow him around. I remember you threw that eraser at a guy 5 years ago. And that's just the way these things work, unfortunately. Or fortunately, maybe. Takakeisho, there's been a little something off with him. He was fishing for that hair pull last tournament. And like I said about Kotonowaka, like there's some anger thing going on. And I'm doing like a waving gesture with my hand right now. It's like, guys, it's the culmination of all of this stuff coming down, and this is the result. This is the wild messiness that we call sumo that we all know and love. So now he did Hokutofuji, my boy. He did the henka to it, but I'm like, it's fine. At the end of the day, we got through this mess. He's got double-digit wins. We're going to have an Ozeki at least through 2023. And we had ourselves a wild, fun, like, week out of it. Man. You read this in a book, and you just like, this book is dumb and stupid. You've broken my immersion with this. And then it's reality. You're like, well, guess he hanked. guess this is the timeline we're in. Whew. Okay, guys. Okay. So Takakeisho, I guess less Henka in place. I think you can, if he'll recover from this. I think we all will. He'll have this just be held over him, but that's the way it is. So anyway, onto weird asterisk doing okay to just flat out bad. Shodai, Ozeki 1 West 4 and 11. Shodai, when I was talking about how you're going to do bad again, that was motivation for you to prove me wrong. I was so ready, hopeful, to be eating my boots. Because I was like, oh, Shodai. I was thinking like a 9 and 6 out of him. I'm like, okay, I'll eat that. That's on me. But that he just... Ugh. So, day 1, fun match versus Tobizaru. Kiribayama, that like reversal, like that was the beginning of the spin, because he had Kiribayama. Kiribayama got out because he's a badass, reverses on him, and then he goes on a 9-loss streak. What a mess! What a disaster! And as is the case, like final week Shodai, these last 5 days, that does seem to be the pattern now, that he comes alive near the very, very end. But guys, if you're getting double-digit losses, you are not an Ozeki. For Mitakeumi, this is going to be a bit literal, but for Shodai, like there's getting your game back together. There's the okay, I got to get out of this funk, and then there's just being an embarrassment. I don't like this feeling of having somebody who's like, you don't belong there, but we can't get rid of you because there's Katobon. It's I actually don't know if there's a precedent for just dumping somebody, but I'm pretty sure they won't do that, particularly because it's quite possible he's going to do it to himself next tournament, though he may, go 4-7 and then go on a 4-win run. We'll see. But my God, we're in a bad spot. Shodai's in a bad spot. He needs to get it together. Shodai, please. I don't even know what to say anymore about Shodai. It's just, come on. So, speaking of Mitakeumi, just going from strength to strength here, Ozeki 2 is also 4-11. By the way, Mitakeumi, you are as bad as Shodai. I hope that makes him angry. An angry Mitakeumi fights well, I'll say that. And it almost feels worse for Mitakeumi than it does for Shodai, because Shodai, at least, like, when he puts on that Eeyore face, like when he stops his momentum, he's out of the dohyo, and then he does that sigh, and he looks up to the heavens. He's just like, "Oh God, I'm just so bad." You're just like, Shodai, you have the power to fix this, and he's not fixing it. You're just like, come on. With Mitakeumi, he started out good. Right here, after he beat Ura, he was 3-2. He looked solid. His losses were pretty close. Actually, hang on. It was what I have it written down. Maybe it was around. Yeah, it started to slip. And then when he fought Daieisho and on, like this stretch right here, he was just a training dummy. There was nothing left of him. But right here, like, there's that look that Mitakeumi gets when he wins. It's like that killer's eye, like sort of the way that Terunofuji and Hoshoryu look at people. That he's just like, yeah, this is my dohyo. You don't belong here. Like, that's Ozeki Mitakeumi. It's in there, and it showed up. And then it just, right here, when he fought Daieisho and just folded and folded and folded, just right there. It's almost, it feels bad. Because, like, the spark went away. It's like somebody dragged Ozeki Mitakeumi behind the Goku Gikan and killed him. And I'm like, no, we need you. We need that guy who cannot be moved, who is just dangerously aggressive and makes his power felt with every inch of his body. Like, that was the Ozeki Mitakeumi, and it's gone! Out the door. So now he's in Sekiwake, and as is the rules, if he gets 10 wins in November, he's back to Ozeki. I would say that's a coin flip at this point. Like, he can come into November on an absolute tear and just smash people and get a Yusho on the way out. Or he'll be, like, 9-6. And I don't know. I don't even want to think about it right now. Mitakeumi, I'm sorry, but you're making me hurt. You're giving me pain in my heart. It's just, at this point, it's really my own fault, because it's Mitakeumi. It's like, what are you gonna do? You have a better chance of just putting in numbers in a random number generator and saying that's gonna be your score than it is to predict what this guy's gonna do. But anyway, Mitakeumi, you get your chance to come back. I'm doing a finger wave at the monitor right now. But if you don't do it, I think if he loses Ozeki, he's not getting it back. It's just gonna be a mess, and he's just gonna live in Sekiwake for the rest of his life. So this is our Ozeki state right now. It feels like it's bad as it's been in a while, but we have hope. Hope springs once more with Sekiwake 1 East, Wakatakakage 11-4. Re-rack that run, baby. That is double-digit wins, and now he's back at it. And this is the Wakatakakage, the Wakamotoharu, both of those guys, like, the losses roll right off their back, and you love that mentality in a fighter, particularly in a very, very high stakes, no room for error kind of a thing. So rough start. Wakatakakage does seem like he needs to get the engine revving a little bit. Now, to be fair, look who he lost to. Kotonowaka, Meisei, Kiribayama. These are not gimme fights. Now, these are people he should be beating, but these are the people who also have the ability to beat him. Kotonowaka seems to have an angle on him. Kiribayama's always, like, it feels like every time Kiribayama fights these top guys, he learns something new. And then Meisei wants this so bad. He fought with so much heart. And then comes this. Bam! Just smashing everybody. That textbook, low, strong pressure, belt work. He outbelted Tobizaru. Power to upend Ichinojo. Now, he's done it before, but it's no less impressive. One of the few guys to get a win off of Tamawashi, by the way, with a reversal. So Tamawashi, that Nodowa, just broke everybody in half. Wakatakakage ate it and then turned it around. So this is the guy, and this is what I wanted out of him. This is what we were talking about in the beginning. Like, Wakatakakage needs to set feet and say, this is my spot. You all get in line behind me. That's what we needed to do, and that's exactly what he did, and oh, it feels so good. Positive. He did it all, and like that's the presence. Now, he still needs, this is the beginning of the run. There's so much that can go wrong. He still needs, if it's 33, then he needs another 22 wins. Probably need to Yusho or needs to get in that race. I feel like this the way that things are. If he gets 33 wins and one of those is like a 13-2, but he loses out on the end of the day, like they'll give it to him. They'll be like, here's the Ozeki belt. Please, we need someone. So strong start. And again, I feel like I'm putting a little bit too much on him, but like we need that right now. It's pretty, man. Keep kicking ass, Wakatakakage. That's what I gotta say. Next up, Hoshoryu. Sekiwaki won West 8-7. He scraped by on the last day. Now Endo gave him a fight. Endo made him work for it. He's got some fun throws. The way when I was watching the Ichinojo fight, he was just like yanking that guy around. He's just like, I'm gonna bully somebody who's over 400 pounds, 200 kilos. Oh my god, 440, 450. Ichinojo is a lot of guy, and Hoshoryu made him look like that was like a blow-up doll. It was pretty wild. He's also doing a mix of things. Hoshoryu does have that toolkit. Like he outblasted Daieisho. Daieisho didn't have a good time of it really, but you can't fool Daieisho too much. Actually, you can. Never mind. Also worth noting, this is the big moment for Hoshoryu. So when he fights Takakeisho, not only does earlier on, like the first time Hoshoryu fought Takakeisho, like he was rigid, he was nervous. It was like first day on the job, and then Takakeisho just like knocks him over like a bunch of kindling. This time, completely different story. He absorbs the Tachi. He charges forward in the air. This like on the replay, I'm like, like when your limbs move fast on the replay, you're like, dude, how fast are you? So like in midair, jumping, pushing. Takakeisho reaches underneath, grabs the leg, and pulls it upwards so that Takakeisho's guaranteed to hit down first. That's a wild move. That's a practiced move, and that kind of shows you the kind of guy that Hoshoryu is. Now, we already knew he was just hungry for everything. Like, the insatiable appetite will not be happy until he's sitting on a pile of Yusho trophies that's twice as big as Asashoryu. Like, that's that kind of anger, that kind of drive that's in him. So, why the 8-7 if he's got all these things in his kit? And that, I'm putting it into what I call fighter game input lag. And I'll explain this weird reference. So, if you're playing like a real high-end fighting video game, like there's a lot of things you need to keep track of at once. So, like playing, like not just playing, drinking beers and playing with your friends, like playing this, like I'm doing air quotes seriously. Like there's a whole like tournament scene, there's a professional scene, like all that stuff going on, but for fighting games. So like if you're playing Street Fighter, Soul Calibur, Tekken, there's a lot. Guilty Gear. Anyway, I'm talking about video games. The whole idea is that you can get into a point that there's just too much stuff for you to keep track of. And it seems that Hoshoryu always lost either when he didn't have the time to manifest on his abilities. So like if somebody like blasts him out, or somebody gets him out in like a second or two before he can really figure something out. Or when things get dragged out, that's where the fighter game input lag seems to start. Because in his head, he's going through 1,000 different ways that this match can end. And he's just like, oh, do I pull here? Do I push there? Do I twist there? And so like when he wins, there's that focus. Like when he does the scoop throw, and it's this really clean, crisp, just throws somebody through the air with such direction that he's able to put all of his power, all of his effort into it. Then when he's in these tie-ups, these scratch-ups, like he's trying to figure out which of these 30 moves he could do. And because he doesn't seem to commit to any of them, his enemy's able to get the advantage. Now, again, I'm watching Sumo from halfway across the world, but I feel like if Hoshoryu can sort of clean up that mind, sort of evolve the mind, because then this is what Hakuho did best, is that he was able to calculate all 30 of these moves on the fly, and then picks the correct one. So the fact that he's struggling with this means that his part of his brain's already there, I feel like. And again, 8 and 7, Sekiwaki, highest rank. Unfortunately, he's not going to go anywhere, but it was almost a 7 and 8. He almost took a step back. He got that last win. I feel like he's still, and there's a lot of optimism here. Like, I feel like he's still evolving. This is also what happens. Like, he gets to a new rank. He sort of feels his way in, and then he pushes forward upwards. So he's not going to be Ozeki yet, but minus a regression, that's really the next step for him, is to start getting double-digit wins where he is, and then comes the upper ranks. But for now, anything positive is going to be good for Hoshoryu in terms of the win column. So, well done. Fun fights. He did change belts, by the way. I like keeping track of the belts. So, around here, I think it was Sadanoumi that he swapped the belts out. He went from red to blue for a little bit more good luck. It got him the Kachikoji. Maybe it worked. So, moving on. Sekiwaki 2 East, Daieisho 7 and 8. And this is, I don't know where they're going to go with this. I'm going to have a little talk about the state of Sanyaku right now, which is really, really crowded. I feel like the big thing for Daieisho is a lot of people are starting to read him. And when you parry him, if you can get him off balance, then he has trouble recovering. And the bit of those two things seems to be like the root of his problems. Also, he only had a couple of like what I'll call Yusho Daieisho blastouts. Now he did it against Sadanoumi. He did it, so that was like near the end when he was doing the rally. Not enough of that. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, if you just parry him, or if you just move to the side, you can get him off balance, you can knock him down, you can reverse him at the edge. I feel like a lot of people are sort of clued into Daieisho's game at this point, which is bad news for him because that's going to make him lose. He needs a few new tricks in his bag, and I mean, as is always the case with Daieisho, and the fact that he's just wearing a dozen different bandages, wrappings, and braces. We got another moment when he was fighting Kotonowaka. Another moment where one of his elbow braces were like thrown out like an ejected cartridge, which is always amusing. But where does he go from here? I feel like he's gonna just lose out of Sanyaku, but again, I'll point at everything and I'll do all the math when we get there. But a 7 and 8 means he's still in it. Like he's not. This isn't a dump. This isn't one of this mess up here with these Ozekis. This is a almost there, but not quite. Alright, so Abi, this will be quick. 0-0 and 15, injured at the start of the tournament, so I mean, not much to say. Unfortunately, he's just going to tumble. In terms of logistics, it's very convenient because he's just going to be down on Megashiro 5 and 6. So there's one of our Sanyaku puzzles solved. Maybe a blessing in disguise for Abi. Abi's a lot of mental stress issues, needs to refocus. It may help him to go back to a place that he can rebuild his momentum. And now, again, as is the case whenever anybody's injured, that does put the asterisk when they come back. Are they going to be at 100%? Are they going to be as strong mentally and physically? Will they be able to do all that stuff? So it's a lot of questions, as always the case. But I am looking at this a little glass half full, that he gets a rest. He gets to try to get an extra 2 months to sort of get more sumo spirit, and then hopefully that'll allow him to push back up and then possibly get the next step, because it's basically the unanswered question that Abi needs to start focusing upwards, because now he's floundering where he is. We're not going to know until November for him. So next up, this is Sanyaku and Ozeki. This is like a roller coaster ride of emotions. Ichinojo 6 and 9, the unfortunate return of Snorlax. It's really, I feel like the pressure got to him. I don't really know what else it could have been. Maybe there's an injury that came back, but our defending champion took all of that hunger, that aggression, that speed, again, the speed on old Ichinojo was probably the most terrifying thing for me, because if you've got that, again, that 450, 460 pounds of just killer instinct barreling at you, like, what are you going to do? I'm sorry, you're about to get hit by a car is going to grab you and throw you out of the ring. That's terrifying. That did not show up. He still has like the sumo sense. He knows how to reverse positions. He's good on the belt. And he was trying. Like, it wasn't a phone in. It felt like, like Mitakeumi final few days phone in. This was the speed and hunger isn't there, but he's still fighting. Worth noting that he did win after he got his Makakoshi. I always look for this. This is another theme in this tournament. There's a few people who struggled and like got their Makakoshi early, but then won afterwards. So like the pressure's off, they can sort of go back to fighting. Now that does show sort of a pressure issue, sort of underlines that. Ichinojo back to rank and file, like pretty clean, unfortunately. And it's going to be up to him to sort of re-rack and sort of get that Aoiyama sumo, as we say, the hunter, the killer instinct. Gotta get that back, but not this time. All right. So next up, Kiribayama, 9-6, very nice for Kamasubi 2 West on his. I believe this was his return. He had the same situation that Tobizaru does. That he was like on 1 East, gets to Kachikoshi, like we'll let him in, and he proved those Banjoge committee people that he was a good bet. Spirited Sumo, like almost every match Kiribayama in was good. It was fun sumo. He brought his A game. He did a lift out of Mitakeumi, by the way. Now, say what you want about Mitakeumi's struggling performance. Actually, when was this? This is very important. When was he fighting? So this is Mitakeumi, who hasn't completely lost his spark yet. So he gave him a fight. Gets an Iron Man win against Ichinojo. Ichinojo dragging people in the deep waters. Kiribayama's like, I can swim. Wins against Takakeisho. He's always had trouble. Actually, no, Kiribayama, he's got a number on Takakeisho, now that I think about it. But yeah, when he saw, like, there was that belt grab that Kiribayama got right off the Tachiai, and then Takakeisho, like, flailed like a trapped animal. It's just, get off of me. And Kiribayama's like, I'm not getting off of you. You're mine. There's that drive to win. So here's something I know, like everything going on in the top, in the bottom, in the middle. You've got the Ozeki in shambles. The Yokozuna's out. You've got this, the Mega Shira crushed here. Everybody here on, like, fighting magnificently. Record be damned, or record not be damned, as is the case with Tamawashi. And then Kiribayama here is like almost like lost in the shuffle. And like this kind of quality, like every time Kiribayama's on the dojo, it's going to be a good fight. He's going to give it his all. It's going to be good belt work, some slap wins, some everything. Like Kiribayama is like, that's the sumo we were all wanting when this mess is going on up top. I don't know. Like, I feel like almost like, I'm sorry, Kiribayama, that I didn't really appreciate how well your sumo was this tournament until after I sat down and thought about it. And this has always been the case with Kiribayama. He's like that. It's that quiet, steady progress, like not a crazy breakout, but at the same time consistent, and it now manifested. So now we have a Sanyaku guy who is putting in good numbers and in a convincing manner. So it's very, like, once it all clicked for me, I'm like, oh crap, Kiribayama's made it. This may be it, guys. Sanyaku's still a wild, vicious beast. So by all means, there's not a guarantee of success. But, if that was a 10-5, then he'd also be on an Ozeki run. And, technically, if he goes on an absolute tear, the 9-6 counts. It's not really the start of something, but you can sort of like borrow it later if you get a 14-1. Now, this is me being like blindingly optimistic, like super sweet candy and roses. So never mind all that, but well done, Kiribayama. Just good, clean sumo that we can look forward to. It's just like that good old fashioned elbow grease kind of a guy. So here's where things get a little weird in the Sanyaku, because we were already sort of making a lot of room. So Abi and Ichinojo are dumped out pretty cleanly. So those are 2 of the 6 slots gone. Daieisho, I can see them kicking them out to like Megashira 1 East because they've got a little bit of room to make. So first off, Mitakeumi is going to get dumped. I feel like he's just going to be Sekiwaki 1. Actually, he's going to be Sekiwaki 2. He's going to take Daieisho's shot. But now we have 2 people who have every right to get their slots back. And this is where we're going to get a little weird. So Tamawashi and Tobizaru definitely have done enough to say I'm gonna belong in Sanyaku. So what I think is going to happen is that Daieisho is going to be 1 East. They're just going to say sorry, but there's no room for you. Kiribayama is going to be Kamasubi 1 East. Tobizaru is going to be 2 West, and then Tamawashi is going to be Kamasubi 1 East. And so we're gonna unfortunately go back to 6. I was hoping that we'd be able to close this out, but it's fine. And so we're gonna have another top heavy Sanyaku, but then in November, well, we'll see what happens in November. It's getting ahead of ourselves. But anyway, I'm sort of interesting because now this is historically, whenever there's something like this happens, that you have like more than 4 Sanyaku slots, like it fixes itself the next tournament. But this tournament had so much stuff going on that we've got as much people going in as they do going out. So we kind of going to just carry this 6-slot Sanyaku over for another tournament, unless they're just going to do something a little mean. But I feel like they like rewarding this kind of stuff. So that's the Sanyaku talk. So we just mentioned him, Tobizaru, 10-5. Guys, you may have heard of the Flying Monkey, but have you heard of the Flying Monkey King? I present to you Sun Wukong, who has ascended from somewhere and then given Tobizaru this insanely awesome power. Be on the lookout for extending stabs and Tobizaru using his hair to make duplicates of himself in the middle of a fight. I don't know how to explain this outside of just like receiving power from the divine, because oh my god, Tobizaru was an absolute monster of a fighter, and I love every second of this. We looked at Tobizaru at 1 East and we're like, you're in trouble, buddy. And then Tobizaru was just like, boot, guys, I'm the Monkey King. I'm just going to thrash everybody. And he did. All the way down to the last day, Takanosho dragged Tobizaru into deep water. Like, this is fresh on my mind because I just watched it a couple hours ago. And, like, there's a lot of moments like that for Tobizaru that, like, he gets into a position and you're like, oh boy, this is not where he wants to be. And Tobizaru was just like, nah, I got this. Yeah, so just a list of things that he did that, like, when they happen, I'm like, what? Did he just do that? Let's see. So out muscles Mitakeumi and Ichinojo on the belt. He's been doing this lately. He just feels like, oh, I've learned how to do the belt. I've mastered this, like, in my spare time. What the hell? When did this happen? Out tricks Hoshoryu, which he's done that before, to be fair, but this is still Hoshoryu, who does not like people out tricking him. Outbelts Kiribayama, by the way. Again, just outbelting the belt guy. And I just got finished talking about how Kiribayama was like this like every man's working sumo. Ugh. Gets an eye poke. Oh, that was that terrifying eye poke when he was fighting Meisei. That looked like, I mean, on the replay, it looks like the eye, like the finger went all the way in. And then Tobizaru was just like crying out in pain while trying to get the envelopes. I don't know where this came from. Now there was a surge in power and talent. We're like, ooh, Tobizaru's putting something together. I didn't expect this kind of a surge. This is an absolute treat. And now I don't know if we're gonna get Sun Wukong, Tobizaru, the Flying Monkey King, like, for long. I don't care either, because he made this an absolute blast of a tournament when there was a whole lot, like, he's part of, like, the positive, counterbalancing some of the negative, some of the sadness. Bless you, Tobizaru. You're just amazing. Absolutely great. And we're going to go from positive to positive when we talk about Midorifuji, who, by the way, when you're like, obviously over-promoted, well-earned, but, like, he goes from Megashira, like, 10 to Megashira 1. And like my big concern was he's gonna get injured. Someone's like Ichinojo's gonna land on him, and he's gonna get like smashed. 7 and 8. At 7 and 8 is like I actually belong here. By the way, we're maybe you didn't notice, but I'm up to snuff. This is the meat grinder they threw him into, and he came out the other end almost unscathed. And not only that, but he left it all on the dohyo like every fight. And that alone, like he could have been like a 5-10, a 4-11. Just the way he fought was inspiring. So he's just like, he just threw himself into the fire, recklessly almost, and just put foot down, pedal to the metal, just blasting, and that it got him wins. That's the thing. So against Shodai and Hoshoryu, like the only way he beat them was just sheer aggression and willpower. And like these are people that like they should have beaten him. And on paper you're like, yeah, I mean it's Shodai, but it's still Ozeki level sumo. I don't think Midorifuji's there yet. And Midorifuji's just like, I'm gonna get this guy, and runs in on him. He's flailing, he's pushing, he's giving every last ounce of what he has, and gets him in. And even when he loses, so there was that fight against Wakatakakage. He's fighting the same way. He's just like, I'm just gonna get this guy. I'm gonna charge in there. I'm gonna go nuts, and I might lose, but I would rather lose going all out than trying to be safe. And he almost gets Wakatakakage. Wakatakakage turns it around, and there's that moment that like he's thrown down to the ground. He's just lying there for a second. He's just like, oh damn it, I wanted that so much. That's, oh man, that's like the spirit of sumo manifest. It's so good. And at a 7 and 8, he's just gonna do it again in November. That's the exciting part. Now I am still a little scared about the whole, you're tiny man, you may get crushed. But if he's fighting like that, I'm not nearly as worried about him as I was this time like 3 weeks ago. Oh man, Midorifuji just bringing it. That whole, everybody in these stables. You got Midorifuji, almost everybody. You got Midorifuji, Terunofuji. We're going to talk about, where is he? Nishikifuji. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. Just that whole stable, with the exception of Takarafuji, on fire. Anyway, well done, Midorifuji. The 7-8 does not tell you anything about how well he fought. And maybe he'll get Kachikoshi in November, guys. To keep an eye on him. He's not to be counted out. So next up, Kotonowaka, 8 and 7 at Megashira 2 East. Not the dominant July that I was hoping for, which is fine, because he was like super up there, and then COVID benches him, and I was like, he was one of the people I was like kind of really like annoyed that COVID got to him. But he's still in the mix. 8 and 7 at this rate means he's preparing for the move up. Beats 2 to 3 Ozeki. Again, Takakeisho just slapped him silly. He's like, all of these wins, also keep in mind, like he's beaten Sanyaku, Ozeki, Sanyaku, guy higher ranked than him. A lot of his wins are against people above him, which means that he's going to go up. I mean, he loses a few that are not, and then there's the lose out at the end, which is just fatigue, who knows. But like this is the trend of somebody who's building, who's not just gonna flounder. It's not a streak, it's not a fad. So he is destined for higher up. We're getting to that point again where do you go? We're running out of places to put you. That's going to be something that Kotonowaka needs to figure out, is how to deal with all this. And to be fair, he's starting to. It's got the wins against some of the other people. So it's just it's that little half adjustment, and then boom. Keep an eye. I'm liking it. Again, the 8 and 7, not like I was hoping for a little bit more oomph. It's fine that we didn't get the oomph because we got the Kachikoshi, and a lot of his wins were more decisive as well. Like, it's like, okay, he won that. Not the weird Mono-y stuff that was plaguing him a little bit. So, next up, we have Meisei, Megashira 2 West 8 and 7. This is a guy. So look at this right here, this 5-win streak. So right here, he was 3 and 7, struggling a little bit, fighting as well as he could here. But then right here, when he starts fighting Kiribayama, he's just like, no, I am not gonna get down again. He's like, I clawed my way back up here, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna take a trip downward again. That was his mindset, I felt like. And like, you felt it. Like, he's just like, there was like a complete I'm not losing today mentality in this last run, and that was a lot of fun to watch. So Meisei's strengths remain like his super fast speed and aggression. So like he'll get the drop on somebody and then just blast them out or belt them out. And like I had mentioned before, when he was fought Takakeisho, Meisei just went in on Takakeisho like 4 times. It was that crash and the grunts. It was like it was like these guys are just blasting each other to pieces. And Meisei he kept going back in. He was just crashing off the wall. It was like he was shoulder butting a brick wall, and he's just like, I don't care. I'm gonna knock this wall over if I can. That's the mindset that Meisei had this tournament. I feel like he's still like not at 100% quite yet, but he got an 8 and 7 in Megashira 2, and he is fighting like a man possessed. And that's if you've got that kind of willpower and you can like convert it into your sumo, it's gonna get you places. And I feel like a couple more tournaments of that kind of aggression and hopefully a little bit more wins, he's back in Sanyaku. Right, he's just gonna cozy right back up to that Sekiwake slot he lost. Now again, I'm gonna take a step back. So I've been saying for I don't know, half of the people I'm talking about, I'm just like, they keep that up and they're gonna be right back where they were. And you look up and you're like, guys, you're already talking about how there's a bloated Sanyaku already. Someone's gonna lose, and that's just the reality of the situation, unfortunately. But there's a lot going on, guys. There's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of stuff. It's getting exciting again. And now, some of this is a little magnified because the people who are supposed to be cleaning house are instead cleaning out their desk because they've been fired from Ozeki. But anyway, just ooh. All right, well done, Meisei. I love your rally at the end. So, Tamawashi, Megashira 3 East, 13 and 2. I think you did okay, guys. Some of this is just an immense relief for me, because we had mentioned this going in, that Tamawashi had got benched. They had preserved his Ironman record, which he still has, but how much of that is in paper, how much of that is reality, and we're like, maybe now, because it always was the case that like when these Ironman people, like once they took their foot off the gas, like they never put it back on again. Consider my fears put to rest. Guy wins a Yusho. In a convincing fashion too, by the way. Just manhandling everybody, and like he's like even stronger than he's been in recent times. Yeah, I think he was fighting, might have been Nishikifuji. He did this a few times, that his Nodo was so strong, like he bent people into the letter C. Like it was terrifying how strong that Nodo was, and just folding people in half. Just bristling power. And the big thing for him, he usually has like a second week fade where like the engine runs out a little bit. And he didn't fade. Day 15, final day, today's match against Takayasu. Takayasu brings it. And Tamawashi's just like, I too have brought it. In fact, I have brought more than you. And then wins that match decisively. It's, man, you love to see it. Oldest, I think the record, he like has the record for the oldest person to win the top division. He's here to stay, guys. He's probably going to get in Sanyaku with that. And we'll see where he goes from there. As is usually the case with the veterans, like when they have these like these confluence, these culmination of elements that sort of get them to go. Like, it doesn't stick around. I don't think he's going to make an actual run at anything. I am just pleased as punch that Tamawashi is going to be here for, what do you say, another 10 years? I think he'll be 45, 46 when he finally gets out of here. Absolute. Bless you, Tamawashi. And thank you for, like, some of the best sumo you've given us in some time. Which, by the way, your sumo beforehand was still pretty good. This is, you've brought out the premium collection for us. Like, we were like, man, these are some really good cookies. These are some really good treats that you brought out for us. And then Tamawashi's like, hang on, guys. I've got the good stuff. And he brought the good stuff. Oh, real good. Oh, speaking of good stuff, 3 West 8 and 7 got the Kachikoshi on the last day against Oho. Oh boy, Oho. We'll talk about him later. I feel like he's figured out his place in the top, because the last time he was up this high, I think he was like 4 and 11. It was, yeah, he was getting battered down a little bit, but no, this was the time that he was high up there and then got the Kachikoshi on the last day, but it still counts, guys. Still counts. And again, as we say it all the time, Sumo is, as is self-evident, just a great treat to watch. Get some leg picks. Again, by the way, against Takayasu, of all people, he leg picks. Imagine that. Go back in time, he doesn't get that leg pick. The entire tournament's different. Does not realize he's changing the fate of the universe on day 2, but he did. So when he's fighting Takarafuji, he does something called a Sutezori, which is an underarm forward body drop. That's the thing where he sort of slips his head underneath the guy's arm and then leans backwards. He landed it. It hasn't been done in like 20 years, and the last person who did it was Hoshoryu, I believe, according to the recaps. So we're getting that kind of sumo. By the way, we're also getting like just straightforward sumo, like sort of what Tobizaru has been doing. He's just like, oh, I've got all these tricks, I've got this wild stuff, but I'm also just gonna bulldoze Hoshoryu out. And I think he does a push out of Ichinojo, like legitimately I'm just gonna straightforward sumo you today. By the way, speaking of Tobizaru, the Tobizaru Ura match was one of the highlights of the tournament. Just that whole, it was a minute, they were leaning against each other, hand fighting, looking for angles. Ura lost it, my God. That you could not do a fight that good and that fun with anybody else but Tobizaru and Ura. And he's in this top mix now, guys. He's not going away. It's gonna be these same people, these same exciting matches in November. I'm already looking forward. I'm already devastated that there's not gonna be sumo for another 2 months. I can't think that way. I gotta keep going. Thank you, Ura, for your service and cheery smile. And and he's still got that uncontainable joy. Like when he did the Matador win versus Daieisho, he throws his arms up. Like I wrote it in my notes, I'm just like, he's probably gonna get yelled at for that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, you can't tell Ura to stop being Ura. He's just too good at it. So next up, Nishikigi. So the 6 and 9 on paper looks bad, but Nishikigi fought really well, all things considered. So the 6 wins that he got looked real good. And by the way, beat Shodai, which, say what you want about it. Beats Meisei. So quality opponents that he beats. Like, ultimately, it just came down to Nishikigi just being thrown to the absolute top people. Like, he fights Terunofuji. Now, Terunofuji, even in the state that he's in, Nishikigi doesn't really have a chance against this. Like, he loses to Wakatakakage when he's in the middle of this streak right here. Look, he's already built up all this momentum. He's beat these 5 people. What's Nishikigi gonna do? He can't. You're asking too much of him. So, really, Nishikigi just did really well despite the odds stacked against him. A lot of the things that got him this high in the rankings, some reversals, coolness under pressure. Yeah, by the way, Shodai almost had him, and Nishikigi's just like, I got this, guys. This may be an Ozeki, but I'm going to reverse him anyway. I'm going to stay cool. That cool, collected, veteran sense. Nishikigi still got that. So I'm hoping that Nishikigi, gets the right message out of this. That he fought really well, just just basically got into some matchups that are just outside of his skill level. And so he'll take a slight tit down, but like, Nishikigi, please, like, don't let this be a demotivator. Like, just have that pride that I know he has to have. He fought well. It was fun. He's been a very pleasant surprise coming back, because he was one of those people that he sort of like faded into Juryo in that way you do, and you're gone. But then, like, a lot of these other people, he comes back up. It's Nishikigi 2.0, a lot of the same way, like with Sadanoumi 2.0, and well, Tamawashi's like at 8.0 by now, but whatever. Yeah, but what do I say? I like watching Nishikigi fight. He brings it every day. There's something interesting. I hope I stick around with Nishikigi. Stick around with us, all of us, dear fans. I'm not worried about it. He'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, so on to Takayasu, Megashira for West, 11-4. So Takayasu handling himself like the Ozeki he is on the inside, far better than actual Ozeki, which is something that he had the aura of this tournament, it felt like. It's every time that he won, he was just like imposing his will. He was pushing forward. It was all power, all aggression, all technique, and you had no say in it. And that kind of a like when you feel the pressure of his presence, you're like, this guy is getting things. So the only losses he had was to the leg pick, as we'd mentioned. So just Ura caught him out. Takakeisho fighting better than we expected. So like in the match he was fighting with Takakeisho, like Takayasu, like any other day would have won that fight. But Takakeisho had that gumption to hold on. Does a slap down moving backwards. Is not something you really see out of him. And then against Myogiryu, that was the nerves coming back. And then Tamawashi, like this is, I'm almost glad that Tamawashi just like beat him without a playoff, because if Takayasu lost at the playoff, I feel like that would have been worse. But like Takayasu loses on the last day to Tamawashi, and it's sort of it's like a clean break. You're just like, okay, it just wasn't in the cards for me today. But look at what I did do. By the way, beats his nemesis Wakatakakage, and Wakatakakage fighting out of his mind still. I know you show this time around, but I feel like the pressure, he was able to deal with it better than he has in the past. Myogiryu notwithstanding. So first off, he's going to be slotted in like Megashira 2. Maybe 1 West, because Daieisho will probably be 1 East. So he's going to be moving back up, and very pleasant to watch. I mean, I don't want to say like who finger quotes should have gotten the Yusho, because by the way, Tamawashi definitely earned it. I feel like it would have been like the feel good story of Takayasu got the playoff, won on the playoff. Oh, he's got the title finally, and there is that sort of can you exercise your demons kind of thing going on with him. But like he did real well, guys. Special prize, by the way. Well done. Tamawashi also got a special prize, and both heavily well deserved it. So the only concern is that he'll not be doing as well in November, because it seems that whenever he has a sit out, well, both of the times he did this well was a COVID sit out. So maybe it'll be like an 8-7, a 9-6 in November. But at the same time, Takayasu, go get him. That Ozeki aura, nobody gives you the Ozeki aura. You build it yourself. It's like a Jedi lightsaber. Nobody hands you a Jedi lightsaber if you're a real Jedi. Anyway, that's a weird nerd reference out of nowhere. Anyway, Takarafuji, Megashira, 5 East, 5-10. Weird scenario. Now, I'd mentioned this before. Takarafuji didn't actually fight like he was himself until after he got 8 losses. So he was here. He was like 1-8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, right here. Then he goes 4-2. So this right here, the final 6 days, that was some decent sumo for Takarafuji. He's fighting his game. Had some good timing, the good sumo defense, able to reverse position. Like, that's this. This right here, this is just Takarafuji who just just couldn't get it together. Just standing there, not able to do anything, which that's a little rough. So maybe he just took a little while to get going, or maybe the pressure, there's always that pressure that they talk about where, got to keep that rank, got to get those 8 wins. So there's a few people like that. I'll keep mentioning it, but I feel like one of those things, he either just couldn't get it together, or just the pressure buckled him, or he just had a real bad start and he just couldn't get it together until the second week. But regardless, he's tumbling back down, and it does, like, all the veterans, I won't say all, most of the veterans in that I'll say aging, fading bracket do seem to feel a little better in like around the 7 to 10 slot. So he'll be nestling in perhaps back where he will do his best brand of sumo. A little unfortunate to see double-digit losses. I was a little like right here when he was 1-8. I'm like, oh, what happened to you? And then he woke up. I'm like, okay, thank goodness he's not going to be a complete collapse. Well, Takarafuji, hope you're feeling okay. By the way, no injuries, no weird issues that we have to be worried about. On to Sadanoumi, Megashiro 5 West, 9-6, continuing to impress. I feel he was like Megashiro 3, I think, before. Got knocked down a little bit. Now he's 5 and 9-6. He's fighting all the big people. It's not like he's, they're no gimme fights. He did fight Aoiyama, but that's funny. I could say that because Aoiyama's decline is making me sad inside. He's got that hunger. That the I want to win, like sort of like the same way that Meisei has it, and that he's not content with just showing up. He wants to do more. Sadanoumi, and it's that timing, that defense. Like when he beat Mitakeumi, I feel like that was, well, Mitakeumi again was sort of already on the way out, but like the way he won, Mitakeumi came in charged, strong Ozeki charge in him. Sadanoumi keeps his cool, moves around, does the reversal down at the edge. Like it looked like Sadanoumi had the whole thing in the bag the whole time, but like in the moment, here comes Ozeki smashing into you. You got to do something. He's got the defense, the technique, the cool under fire. So he's got the stuff. Him and Nishikigi, they're both like, you don't expect either of these two guys to like make an Ozeki run, but you're so glad they're there because they've got such good quality sumo, and they're doing their thing. They're fighting well. They're putting all these other people on notice. He beats Hoshoryu, by the way. Again, Hoshoryu, like Hoshoryu doesn't allow himself to have an off day. Like sometimes it happens and he doesn't like it, but you're not going to show up and Hoshoryu is just like, oh man, it just wasn't my day today. Like Hoshoryu's he's going to want to bury you in the ground. If you give him a shovel, he'll do it. And Sadanoumi's just like, I'm just going to beat you today. So Sadanoumi, thank you again. Doing well. He's, I say he's not going to make a break at Sanyaku, but Sadanoumi, I wouldn't mind if you proved me wrong on that. Just a little word in your ear. I'll take that on the chin. Seeing a Kamasubi 2 West at a Sadanoumi, I've had worse failures. Okay, so we're just going from happiness to happiness. It's a weird roller coaster going through these Banzuke sometimes. Wakamotoharu 10-5. So the big concern for Wakamotoharu, and I'm doing finger quotes with my hands, was that because he got up, he finally got that Makakoshi, he got knocked back down again. And we're like, how is he going to handle this? Now, we all knew. Like, we knew how this is going to go. The Waka brothers had mentioned this with Wakatakakage, talking too fast. The losses just roll right off of them. They don't even care. They're like, yeah, I lost, whatever. I'll do better next time. And he did. 10-5. He actually did better this tournament than he did on his rise up when they were all 9-6s. And watching this guy on the ring edge is a treat. So at least 3 of his wins were people driving him the hell out and him like bent backwards, moving to fall, doing a grab and throw. And there's a couple that were like not as crazy. So this guy is just a ring edge wizard. and has that grit, has the belt technique. Still charging, still being aggressive, but like people come into him, and then he's just like, you just charged the wrong Rikishi, and off they go. I feel like this guy's got runway still. I feel he's still got to figure out the meat grinder a little bit more, but that's, for some people, it takes longer than others. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm also still, there is a future where Wakamotoharu and Wakatakakage are like, they're both in the mix together. I'm waiting. It may happen in our lifetime where the final match of the tournament is being decided and it's brother versus brother. I want that fight. I don't, it's one of, like, I don't realistically think it'll happen. But if he fights like that, you can't tell me it's a 0% chance. It's in the cards. It's just, the card is in the bottom of a deck that we're not playing with right now. So, still, oh man, to see him defy physics is pleasant. Also amusing, by the way, is that Shodai did that to him. One of Shodai's few wins was a reversal at the edge throw of Wakamotoharu. And I appreciated that particular outcome, because Shodai, like, that was Shodai's bag before he became a walking joke, is that he was so good at that chaos. I made myself sad a little bit. It's fine, guys. Wakamotoharu 10-5. Look at that stuff. Banzuke committee is going to have some trouble with that one. But anyway, well done, Wakamotoharu. So, okay, actually making myself sad again. Endo, Mega Series 6 West, 7-8. I feel like the Endo spark has finally gone out. It's that he had that surge, that he was fighting out of his mind. He beat Terunofuji. He was just strong and relentless and just gave it, and ever since that moment, like, a little bit of it has been taken off. It felt like a little less urgency, a little less spring, a little less power. And so this version of Endo is the way he was prior to this whole spark, which is, and we've been on about this before, that somewhere in Endo is a Yokozuna. Like, his mind, the way he reacts to things, the way he sees his opponents, the way he is just fearless. He will charge headfirst into anything. It's just then everything else just doesn't add up. Now, this isn't to say he's phoning it in. Like, there are a couple of matches I'm like, Endo, you phoned it in. I'm calling you out on this. And then I watched the replay, and like, he's trying to reverse. He's trying to, he's doing the Makakai. He's trying to pivot throw. He's trying, like, he is trying. It's just that his trying it's not good enough. And it's only Endo knows whether it's just his body can't do it anymore, if he doesn't have the urgency to do it, if it's more of a just, I've got another 8 days of this, I can't really throw myself out on this one win. Who knows? I don't know. It feels like from the outside looking in that Endo's back to his old ways, which, by the way, is still not bad. Endo's still putting people through their paces. Still getting 7 wins, so not a slouch, not a complete fade out. But it does feel like he's sort of back to his mediocrity, which maybe that's the wrong word for somebody who's as gifted as he is. I don't know. It's sort of the same things that I'm sort of upsets me and makes me sad about, like Mitakeumi. It's just like there's something in there, inside, deep within their sumo heart, that is a great thing that we may not get it. Well, Endo, please give me a 10-5 in November, and I will shut up. Anyway, on to Aoiyama. 6-9, Megashira 7 East. Clearly had some power issues. Just not blasting people out. Like, almost all of his wins were like that reversal slapdown. So really, like, all the people he's beating are just fellow strugglers. Onosho, struggler. Takayama, struggler. Tsurugisho, struggler. Tritsuyoshi Midori, you get it. So, like, he is the king of the strugglers right here. struggler. That word's getting weird now. I said it too many times. People having a hard time of it. People just need to get their sumo going. Aoyama's like he is their lord. You know, he is the count of the court. Not the place you want to be, but I guess it means that he's got all of his injuries and his issues and whatever power things he's got. Like, he's got it the most together, I guess. A little concerned when he was fighting Okinomi. Like, he just like fell over. Like, his ankle just like clocked out for the day in the middle of the fight. I'm a little worried about that. Now this was here and he fought another 4 days, so at least he was able to use it. But when you see something like that, you see that kind of just like a collapse, and then like Aoyama's like pulling on his foot before he gets up. I'm like, I don't know about this. He's Aoyama, I hope you're okay. I know you're injured beyond belief and clearly not fighting at your best, but I'm hoping for you, buddy. Come on. See what happens in November. Just take it easy. You know, an extra day of bed rest, maybe. Just help it in there. All right, so, Onosho. Oh, this makes me sad. Megashira 7 West 5 and 10. So Onosho worked his way back up to about right here. I went on a thing before about how Onosho, like, it felt like he belonged in Megashira 7, which then was a little upsetting to me because I remember like the Megashira 2 West Onosho, who's blasting people out, and he started doing the peacock strut when he wins, and just looking good about it. And now we get the 5 and 10 at Megashira 7, and really he's only got himself to blame. Now it's still that power. Like, basically every time he won, it was because he just blasted someone out and he stuck to him like glue. But then like all the times he's losing, it's the same stuff. Somebody absorbs his charge and they counter him and he's out. Somebody realizes he's leaning too forward and they take advantage of the footwork. I feel like he's still got work to do. And, you know, we used to compare him to Kiribayama because the two of them had a similar problem in that they needed that extra gear to get higher. Kiribayama found that gear and Onosho is not. And it sucks a little bit. Because the thought of somebody like Onosho just blasting somebody out and then just sort of like, yeah, I did that. How do you think of that? Like, sort of the swagger a little bit. And the power and the speed. And just sort of you blink and you miss it. And like, maybe we'll still get that. Maybe a bit of wishful thinking on my part. But it's, Onosho, you're back to the drawing board. You're back down there trying to figure something out. Alrighty, so Tochinoshin. Megashira 8 East 7 and 8. So his first Makakoshi. He had some Kachikoshis for a little while. I feel like 8 is, and I had mentioned this before with Takarafuji, like the aging veterans, like this is about where they belong. And you get the 7 and 8 out of him, you notice that Myogiryu gets the 8 and 7. So like this is like the comfort zone for these veterans who still got the fight, but like they're held back by age, injuries, whatever. So he still has some defensive chops. Like Onosho blasted into him. Tochinoshin just sort of threw him down. Kotoeko, the two of them had another fight. It was almost a mirror match, but Tochinoshin had learned from their last fight. And Kotoeko tries the throw that beat Tochinoshin before. Tochinoshin just like, I read you, baby. Blocks the throw, gets his own in. So he's still got the mind. The defenses, like there's enough that he can put on his legs. I think when he fought Okinomi, like they ran all over the place. I'm like, both of these guys shouldn't be running, but they are. So there's some excitement there. It's like if you get him moving back, he can't really do anything about it. And because like once that base of power, once you break the supports of his power, like you could just do whatever you want with him. And that's just the reality of the Tochinoshin situation. We did get our chest to chest fights. Now, interestingly enough, is that he won against Kotoshoho, but then lost against Nishikifuji. So there's some of these young whippersnappers are starting to catch up. You know how it is? It's just this is getting old, guys. But I maintain, and we will continue to maintain, that any U show with Tochinoshin in it has to be good. At least Tochinoshin's in it, so we still get him. His magnificent presence that is just irreplaceable. So thank you for doing well. As always, good to see you. That 7 and 8, he's barely going to move. He may not move at all. Actually, did he get a 7 and 8 last tournament? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Told you, he's fine, guys. He's fine. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Oh, so here we go. Hokutofuji! 10 and 5, making sure 8 West. Oh, I am. So, I don't know. Those last 6 days, who cares? Get out of here. I don't care about it. I am looking at that 9 and 0. Look at this. Oh. The Hokutofuji fan is crying tears of joy over this. So I was so worried. I was gloomy and sad and pain because Hokutofuji got injured and he's recovering. He clearly wasn't all there. And then he does this. Hokutofuji decides he is fed up with not fighting well. He's just like, I'm just going to start smashing everybody. And now this is where they sort of threw him to the wolves a little bit. Say what you want about the Takakeisho thing. Clearly that affected him, but if he was doing well, it would have been a 14 and 1, I guess. I don't know. I'm not worried about these last 6 days where he sort of crumbles away a little bit and clearly the nerves and the pressure and the mental game sort of get to him. That's Hokutofuji's not been in this situation before. And when you get there, it's a little weird kind of a place. And yeah, I mean, like, what are you going to do against Wakatakakage in his prime? Come on. Did put him through the paces, though. I'll give you that, Hokutofuji. So I'm just so happy about all this. Hokutofuji prior to the injury, like when he was like bumping his head against the Sanyaku ceiling, he just couldn't get up there. Like every single time Hokutofuji had like a 2-0, maybe a 3-0. And I would send Maria a message. I'm like, Hokutofuji Yusho. And it was mostly a joke because Hokutofuji would invariably just start losing and would fall out of the race. But like it was always that spark of hope. I'm like, maybe Hokutofuji will do it this time. I was always into it. I'm always my bottom dollar on him. And after the injury, I stopped doing that. Obviously, well, first off, because Hokutofuji wasn't really winning those first 2 to 3 matches. But then this. So then he's 9 and 0, and I send Maria a message. I'm like, Hokutofuji Yusho, but I actually mean it this time. It's a good day to be a Hokutofuji fan if you just want him to be doing well. Now, if he won this cup, I would be just like losing my mind right now. And I feel like maybe that's still in the cards. I'm like big picture wise, Hokutofuji, a guy who was struggling, a guy who's trying to recover after a big injury, trying to get his sumo back, trying to figure out other sumo, to see this, like all of my feelings and the thoughts and the way that I am right now can be culminated when he fought Wakamotoharu. By the way, we just talked about how Wakamotoharu, the ring edge wizard, three like complete reversal victories, a couple maybe that were like really more cleaner, more like less physics defying. So Hokutofuji just goes blasting into Wakamotoharu on day 9 and just giving him through his paces, and Wakamotoharu is just like, you just activated my trap card. You fell right into my play. Tries to do the reversal. Hokutofuji blocks it and then dunks him so hard into the dohyo that he bounces off of it. Like that exclamation point on his performance, I had my hands on my head. I'm like, oh my God, he did it. He even got this. I don't know if I actually ran around, but I definitely was, Hokutofuji, yes. God, we got it. I don't know what'll happen after this. I don't know. Like, I don't want to think too far ahead on Hokutofuji. I mean, we'll do that in the preview show, I guess, when we see the Banjuke. But like for now, I'm just gonna like enjoy this feeling of bliss that he did this 9. Oh, just look at these circles. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I have a show to do. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Professional, not actually professional, but let's get it together now. Okay. All right. Myogiryu, Mega Shira 9 East. I'm sorry, Myogiryu, you ran after Hokutofuji. I'm like, oh, okay. 8 and 7. Myogiryu, by the way, spirited performance. We were worried about him. I wouldn't say he's 100% off the list, but the way he's fighting, he's shaking off those cobwebs. He's getting it back together. And again, he's in the veteran comfort zone. Had some fun fights. When he fought Tochinoshin, there was one of those moments that like they crash into each other and then they break apart. And like, there's that moment where they just like, they stand still and they stare at each other for like a half second. They're like, We got to get back to it. We got to get back to it. And then they charge right back in. That was fun. That was a good match. Day 2 has the sumo sense. So here's the reasons that I'm like, he's doing well enough that I'm not really worried about him. He's not off the list, but like I feel like if you just keep doing this and you'll be fine. He beats Nishikifuji and he beats Takanosho, 2 people who do not belong where they are. Definitely Nishikifuji win. Now, a lot of this was the Nishikifuji, just, some of the nerves, some of the rookie stuff, they're still shaking out. But Myogiryu, if he wasn't there, like if you're fighting somebody, if you're fighting Aoiyama, you're fighting somebody who's not fully there, you're not going to get that win. But Myogiryu got that win. Did technically beat Takayasu. I'm going to give that more to Takayasu having the nerves. But again, Myogiryu, he stood and delivered. He was in that fight with Takayasu. He believed he could beat him, and he did. And if Myogiryu didn't believe that, he would have lost. I feel like that's the difference right there. Myogiryu is still holding on to it, and that got him at 8-7. So that's good to see. We're gonna keep Myogiryu along with us a little while longer. I feel like if they'll be Megashira 8 next time, like it'll be more of this. It'll be more good sumo from the veteran. We can't call him a veteran. That joke's not getting old. I'm sorry, Myogiryu. We're just gonna we're keeping that in the bullpen. Okay, so Kotoeko. This is a bit of a puzzle to solve on this one. Megashira 9 West, 6-9. So I do feel like Kotoeko has he's found his brand. That was always the thing. How Kotoeko's got to find his way out of the woods of confusion. He's gotten there. He's got the tiny man, strong man sumo. He's driving out big people. Like when he fought Midorifuji, he's 200 kilos. Midorifuji's a big guy. And he just barrels into Kotoeko. And Kotoeko holds against the rope, which is this little man, strong man, who reverses momentum, gets him out. And we're like, yeah, he's got it. He's getting it done. Muscling out. He muscled out Okinomi and Myogiryu, for that matter. Two veterans that are also, pretty big. Who normally, and somebody like that, you just lean on them and they crumple. So if you're doing so well, why are you 6-9? In my mind, that sort of snuck up on me. I'm like, oh, Kotoeko, he's doing well. And in the back of my mind, if he lost something, I was like, it's no big deal that he lost that. And then he wins, and I'm just like, yeah, look at that. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. And then I'm compiling everything. I'm like, whoa, 6-9. What happened? I thought you were doing well. So I go back through, and I'm trying to piece this all together in my head, so at least I can make sense of it. So he's getting. There's 2 things. First off, there are these really close losses. So it's that half step, with Tochinoshin. Kotoeko back and forth, crazy match with Tochinoshin. Tries to do the throw, but Tochinoshin reads him and reverses it. Endo, close match. Endo just figures it out. And then there are some matches that he's just dead to rights, off the rip. Like when he fights Ryuden just gets him off half second. Snap my fingers twice. I'm not gonna do it again. And so Kotoeko, sometimes he's just caught, and then there's nothing he can do about it. And that's the thing. I feel like if he can get that Tachi improvement, give himself a chance, then 2 and 3 of those losses turn into wins, and then he's a 9-6. Now, there's the whole try to do X and then the opponent counter thing that's also an issue, but that I feel like that's a little bit more of a nebulous, larger problem of that little half inch. That half inch in sumo is so hard to get. But I feel like if he has the Tachi improves, I feel like that's something that you'd be like a little bit crisper, a little bit smoother, a little fat. I don't know, something there. And then Kotoeko's back on it. But until then, it's a 6-9. Unfortunately, Kotoeko, the numbers say you have to go down. But the spirit is there, the technique is there. It's still working on it, but it's a lot better than I feel like it's been. I'll go with that. So next up, Megashira 10 East, Nishikifuji 10-5. I'll say second verse, same as the first. So Nishikifuji was 10-5 in the opening, in his very first Basho, not Yusho. Not yet. Getting ahead of myself there, buddy. He'll get it, don't worry. He had a 10-5 as well, but he got, I think 3 of his wins were freebies, the Fusen shows, because somebody got COVID. So there's, at least for me, he clearly had the technique, he clearly had the presence, the power. But it was just like, well, 3 of those matches you didn't really fight. So how good are you? And Nishikifuji's just like, don't worry, buddy. I'll show you how good I am. I'm going to get a 10-5 fighting really good people like Kotonowaka and Wakamotoharu. Just don't worry. And now I am no longer worried. Nishikifuji, here to stay, making a statement. What's funny about him is the way he fought, like, frame perfect, fights exactly like Terunofuji, obviously. Now, it makes sense in retrospect, but so like he fights Tochinoshin, 2 hands on the back of Tochinoshin's belt, and he lifts him out. Like, just basically out Tochinoshin's Tochinoshin. Fights him the way Terunofuji would. 2 hands on the back of the belt, lift. When he fights Wakamotoharu, again, game opponent, somebody going places. The way he does the arm lock, like the crushing your arm to death in my arm lock, and then chucks him the exact same way Terunofuji does that same throw. It was this weird, like, oh, you're picking up Yokozuna tricks. Okay, a lot of the things starting to make sense now with Nishikifuji and why he's doing so well. And really, like, the only, like, all of his losses that are coming here, like the loss against Tamawashi, I think, like, really sums it up for, like, the little things that Nishikifuji needs to do before he, like, really hits that nitrous and blasts. It's the little half measures, some of the, I'll say, the rookie mistakes. So, like, he goes in on Tamawashi, but he's just a little too low, like that fraction of an inch too low, and Tamawashi's able to with the veterans and slap him down. By the way, did you notice that when Tamawashi beat Nishikifuji, he gave a visible sigh of relief because he knew Nishikifuji was dangerous. So, total victory, I feel, is only a matter of time from Nishikifuji. Watch out for him. And also, by the way, yeah, he was right here on this day in the title race. And when I was talking with Maria about it, I'm like, don't sleep on Nishikifuji. He will win this whole thing if you let him. He nearly did, but I feel like a cup for him is it's in the waiting. You just got to get there. So, well done, Nishikifuji. Well done. So now we're going to Takanosho. 8-7 at 10 West. That's as is always the case. Now we mentioned this with Abi. We mentioned this with Hokutofuji. We mentioned this with Meisei. It's always when you get an injury that knocks you down, how well are you able to springboard back up? That's not a springboard. 8-7 isn't a springboard, but the way he's fighting, he's still fighting like mentally at Sanyaku level. His technique, his balance, his defense, a lot of the stuff that like, I'm going to charge him out because that works on everybody else down here. And Takanosho's just like, no, you're not. I know how to move backwards correctly. I charge people out this way that you're trying to do to me. I know exactly how this works. I'm just going to throw you. I'm going to reverse it. Or I'm just going to block it. And then you're going to have to try something else. Like, Takanosho still has that mindset. It just feels like it's basically just a physical thing. It's just that he didn't hit hard enough. He wasn't moving fast enough to really take advantage of the stuff he was doing. And so like when he fought Nishikifuji, for example, I feel like Takanosho healthy beats Nishikifuji in the exact same match. It is just he's still recovering. This is what I'm hoping anyway, that he's just still on the mend. By the way, he still gets the 8-7. Maybe he takes his foot off the gas in the last few days. Though to be fair, they gave him Kotonowaka, Ryuden, and Tobizaru, people who were fighting really well. So not like, all the credit to the people who he was fighting. Maybe they would have beaten him if he was healthy. It's quite possible. I'm gonna hope, optimistic, keeping the positive energy that Takanosho just still not 100% yet. So come November, now he's just gonna be right here. He's basically gonna fight the same people. Maybe he'll get those double-digit wins now. Until Takanosho gets that double-digit wins, there'll be a little bit of concern. But I do feel like the way he's fighting now, the way he was analyzing things, it's just he needs the body to catch up. So not too worried. So Megashira 11 East Kotoshoho. So we were mentioning in July when the COVID pulled everybody and their brother out, in some cases quite literally, that Kotoshoho is still trying to figure himself out. And like he was like a 5-5 or a 6. I think it was 5-5 when he got pulled out. So like no clue where he is mentally, physically. I couldn't get a read on him. maybe he couldn't get a read on himself. There's a lot of like weird mental, physical technique struggle, a lot of struggling going on. We're on the struggle bus. 7 and 8, we're still on that bus. But at least speaking personally, I feel like I sort of got a better bead on the way that Kotoshoho is fighting, where he's good, where he's bad. Something that surprised me that I do not remember, or at least I didn't write it down. He's got a baller Tachiai. Like some of his, like 2-3 of his matches, he just knocks a guy out and he'd run him out. 2 seconds, done. That's his strength. He's got a good Tachiai. And there's I'll say a reckless aggression to him. That this is sort of where it looks like he's struggling a little bit. I'm sort of wondering now. Now, the mental issues are definitely still there because he was down in Jiryu for like a full year trying to figure himself out. But a lot of like his aggression is just like all forward, completely like almost like a berserker charge. And that gets him wins, like particularly against Midorifuji, who just buckles on the pressure, or against Tsuyoshi, who's looking for the opening, and Kotoshoho, who doesn't give it to him. Here's the thing about that reckless aggression. So I'd mentioned this before. Kotoshoho goes chest to chest with Tochinoshin. Like, I love the enthusiasm, guy, but I don't think you're there yet. So Tochinoshin wins that one. Just goes all the way into Chiyoshoma. Chiyoshoma, used to that, deals with him. So, like, the same aggression and power that gets him his wins seems to be getting him his losses as well. So, focusing on that drive, getting that berserker fury and sort of funneling it, that may be his key to success. Now, maybe I'm just completely just off base. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Quite possible, by the way. I'm not there. I'm not, maybe Kotoshoho has something else going on. But, like, just looking at the numbers, the 7 and 8 means that this is basically where he belongs for now. Not doing terribly, but also not moving upwards. We always want them youngsters to move upwards. Now, I mean, I guess we want everybody to move upwards. But, like, if you look at Tochinoshin, you see the 7-8 on Tochinoshin, we're just like, it's fine. No, not a big deal, guys. It's not a big deal. But you see on Kotoshoho, somebody who were like, this guy could be somebody tomorrow. We're just like, well, it's not tomorrow, so now I gotta wait for the day after. So, Kotoshoho, the star of the day after, perhaps. We'll have to just give him the time he needs. And again, that's another thing on these people like Nishikifuji, like Hiradomi. They're just give them time. Let them grow. Let's plant those seeds. Ain't a rush. Though, speaking of rushes, or lack thereof, Megashiro 11 West, Chiyotairyu 8 and 9. There's desperation starting to trickle into Chiyotairyu here. So the push-pull, like, that's the thing he does. Push, he goes push. If that doesn't work, he pulls. If that doesn't work, he loses. Like, that's Chiyotairyu. That's the way it's been. The desperation is starting to mess with the one thing he's got. So against Nishikifuji, he does a henka. He fails and is thrown to the ground. Against Tsuyoshi, he doesn't go in. He does like a not Tachiai. So Chiyotairyu takes the only chance of success he has and throws it out because he doesn't want to get leg picked or ankle picked or whatever. And like that pressure, I feel like, is now really starting to build on him because he's running out of top division. When he lost to Takayama, like, I've never really seen Chiyotairyu frustrated. Like, he definitely had that sumo composure, but he looked a little upset when he lost to Takayama. And like, okay, so now there's a mental struggle going on with Chiyotairyu. It's not just the physical, it's not just the technique. Now he's in his own head. I'm like, that's worrisome. So good news for Chiyotairyu, despite the 6 and 9, the way that the lower down is, he should be fine, at least until November. But his timer is running out, and I feel like he's acutely aware of that, and it's sort of just like he's stuck in a negative feedback loop, which is a little upsetting. Because Chiyotairyu, he's well, when he gets his push-pull going, it's fun, I guess. And I like him. I don't want him to go, but this is the way things are. Like we'd mentioned before with Kaisei, if Kaisei doesn't leave, we don't get new people coming in. It's the vicious cycle of sumo life. Well, speaking of that, Okinomi 6 and 9. Uh-oh. I feel like that the dulling edge that I had mentioned before about how Okinomi, like, everything's still there, but just things are going a little dull. Things are a little slower. That is continuing with that 6 and 9, which is concerning to me. So he's still got his raw size and power. He's still got the veteran sense, So like he knows what's going on and he knows how to deal with it, but he's just not able to capitalize on it. So like a lot of his wins, again, like there's some of his struggles. Like Ichi Yamamoto had a rough time of it. I don't win against Ryuden. No, that's a positive for him. But like, you know, beating Aoiyama, beating Takayama, beating Tsurugisho, like these are the gimme wins, I'll say, with no disrespect meant. And then basically the rest of it, if anybody's got their stuff together, then he's just gonna eat it. And that's troubling. So my hope for Okinomi is that he finds that magical second wind. That it's that wind that comes through and hits some of the veterans. Like Tochinoshin got that. He's on like his third, fourth win by now. That the Tochinoshin trickling down. We're like, is this the last we see of him? And then he just surges right back up, and we're like, yeah, he's back. Okinomi needs a he's back moment. And now similar to Chiyotairyu, people lower down did a lot worse and a lot lower. So he's fine for now, but he's also, the clock's ticking on him. A little concerned for my friend here. So, Ryuden, making sure you're 12 West, 11-4. That's a number that sneaks up on you. What? 11-4. Wasn't that the people who were almost runners up? Yeah. Hello, Ryuden. Welcome back. So this is weird for Ryuden. So about right here, he was 1-4. I'm like, oh man. I was hyped for Ryuden coming into this because he won the Juro Yusho. He was like right on the edge. We hadn't seen him in like a year. We're like, how's he gonna go? What's gonna happen? What he's gonna be like? And then he starts out 1-4. I'm like, man, he buckled. And so like I had sort of like written him off in my head. And then he starts doing this, and he gets win after win after win after win. And then eventually he comes back around. He hits his Kachikoshi. He's 8-4. I'm like, whoa, oh, how you doing, buddy? So his belt grip is like a bear trap. It is fascinating because once that thing latches on, you're not getting it off. He's got you, baby. That's part of when I was talking before about Kotoeko and the dead to rights, like Ryuden had that belt grip on Kotoeko off the rip. Kotoeko was like, he had lost in a fraction of a second because Ryuden had this thing latched on. He also does like this American football like charge. He gets super low and he just runs. And that's a little spooky to watch. Because then you're like, if that happened to me, some spindly person, I'm like, he may actually break half the bones in my body. So if he keeps that, like, let's say all this 1-4 is just nerves, right? And then like this is actually Ryuden. That's scary. That's a Ryuden who's coming for everything you have, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Ryuden, welcome back. I see that you have been training, and perhaps you're going to give a nice run of it in November for whatever you do. That's very, very fun. Exciting to think about. I'm looking forward to it. Keep an eye. Yeah. Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps. Oh, just thinking about it. Ooh. It's like saying Mufasa. Oh, say it again. All right, Mega Share 13 East, Ichi Yamamoto. This one hurt. This one struck home a little bit. 6-9. There's 2 Ichi Yamamotos that showed up this tournament. So like first week Ichi Yamamoto, it's like all like right here about maybe right here. So we'll say right here he's 4-2, and then he becomes 5-4. So like more like here, I think, when he beats Hirodoumi. He's got the power, the aggression, like the big thing that Ichi Yamamoto did that a lot of like the trap that a lot of people fall into is that like when he pushes forward, he doesn't pull. He doesn't go back. He just keeps going forward, or he changes his plan. Like he goes for the belt, he does a sidestep, but like it's always moving forward. That was like the Ichi Yamamoto success that made me like really frustrated when COVID basically robbed him of a Kachikoshi, because I feel like he would have gotten it. Like he would have been like 8, 9, 10 wins in July if he didn't get benched. Then week 2 happens. So then all that stuff that he had in the beginning, like the power, the aggression, the timing, the persistence, like it all goes away. Like his Tachiai just stops working. He starts leaning and getting like caught off guard, and he starts pulling. Oh no! And then he's 6-9, and now he's gonna tumble down. Now he's also safe. I would say basically Takayama is the start of the Jiryo bus, so he's just barely not on the Jiryo bus. But this is it sucks. And so I don't know what happened. Maybe he just got tired out. Maybe he lost focus. Maybe there's an injury. Maybe he just legitimately lost. I mean, do you legitimately lose against Chiyotairyu? Do you Oho? And I don't I get myself in a tizzy, just like, what happened? What? I don't know what it is. It's a mystery to me. I don't know. He was there and then he was gone, and maybe this just would have happened anyway in July. I don't know. I'm just a confused, sad mess over this. But he will be here in November. Like, we are at that part of the Banzuke that we're talking about that. So good news, he's not going to go away. Bad news, that's not what you want to see out of somebody who wants to stay in the top division and also evolve the game. So whatever, Ichiyama, whatever. I don't know. Maybe somebody put a curse on you. Find a shaman or something. I don't know. God, it sucks. Oh, speaking of suck, oh no. Whew. Oho. Mega Zero 13 was 7 and 8. Not again. Oho. He goes from 5 and 0. Looks like no demons, exercises demons. To right here, he's 7 and 2. He's in the Yusho conversation. And then the 8 and 3, or 6 and 2, 7 and 3, right here against Ichiyama. Like right here, we're like, okay, he's still in the Yusho race. They can't think of a better way to get the fires burning than getting a cup. And if you're 12 and 3, you're right there in it. And then this happens. Then we have another collapse, which is just we thought we had worked through this, and then it comes back and drags him back into the depths. I don't know. It hurt me. It hurt watching it in slow motion. It's like it's like watching it happen in slow motion. You're like, no, get out of the way of the train. It's like that scene in Austin Powers with the cement, the roller cement thing. The guy's like, and the thing's all the way over there, and he still gets run over. That's, oh god. Okay, so here's the positive takeaway, is that when he was doing on his run, he was just outright just imposing will in a very, like, I'll say Sanyaku manner. He was using his size and just smothering people in their faces, pushing them around. People couldn't get anything going, and just saying, this is my ring, get out. And that was like, everybody who's seeing this was like, this is what Oho needs right here, keep doing this, Oho. And then he stopped doing it. We're like, oh. So Oho once again stutters to a stop. What a pain. A pain in my heart, my feelings. But like I said with Kotoshoho, like with Nishikifuji, all these people, they're so young. They've got 10 years to worry about this, to work this out. So plenty of time for him to regroup, regather. Maybe they do group rates with Ichi Yamamoto on hiring curse removal shamans. I don't know. They need it. They both do. So next up, Chiyoshoma. 9 and 6, 14 East. This is how you get off the watch list. This is like this Chiyoshoma. Like, this is the Chiyoshoma that got him up to Megashira 5. Like, it was like a year ago, well, a little bit longer, that like Chushi went on that tear, and like me and Maria were like, what? How is this? Who? It's like he snuck into the party, and they're like, he's not supposed to be here. What's he doing here? And we're like, well, he's doing well. We can't tell him to leave. And then he finally things started to fall apart, and then he basically, I think he almost went a year without a Kachikoshi, and we're like, ugh. And this was Chiyoshoma. I think he was one of the guys who's like 7 and 8. But he didn't get the COVID hold. Like, they bumped him down. They're like, oh, maybe that was Tsurugisho. But anyway, Chiyoshoma was no longer, he had run out of favor with the Banzuke committee. And we're like, he's got to get his stuff together. He's out. And Chiyoshoma like reignites the fire. So clean reversal victories. He gets a leg trip on Midorifuji, which was fun to watch. He welcomes Daieisho to the top division with a Henko, which is, I feel like that's a rite of passage. I'm not going to talk about Henkos anymore. But guys, never mind. I didn't even bring it up. I'm sorry. But doing Chiyoshoma like good, like reactive and the analytical sumo that he's so good at, the wily fox bag of tricks kind of stuff. And so like he's fine. He's good to go. Seems like it. Now I don't expect him to do another like run all the way to the top division. I feel like he will be comfortable with his fellow veterans, sort of in this pocket right here. Like if he's in here, I feel like Chiyoshoma can last a long time, the way he's fighting in this tournament. So he just needs to keep that particular fire burning, and he'll be good. And then we get more Chiyoshoma, which is the most important part, because seeing the wild techniques and then like the look of shock on his enemies' faces as they just get upended. Just yes, more please. Okay, so from now on in, we're going to be talking about people who will no longer be with us. Let's look at this. Look right here. There's not a single Kachikoshi for the rest of this. And so we are now going to be in relegation talks. Unfortunately, we're talking about this with Takayama to start with. 14 West. 4-11. So on the way in, we were talking about how it was like an attributing like a positive, his grit, his resolve, the fact that Takayama is just held together by duct tape and good intentions, and still fighting well enough to stay in the top division, despite all the things against him. We're like, this is like such a powerful like grit and pride for Takayama. And it wasn't enough this time, guys. Unfortunately, it is just the Grim Reaper has finally gotten around to it. And he was a half step behind this whole tournament. And people were able to dictate their pace. They were able to do what they wanted. And he was only really able to win once somebody attacked him and they didn't get him out. So like he was always on the back foot. And like I'd mentioned this before about how Aoiyama was beating all of the fellow struggling people. So he's losing all the fellow struggling people. Loses to Tsurugisho, loses to Aoiyama, loses to Oho. Oh, this is Prime Oho. Never mind, I'm taking that one back. But by the way, worth noting, I'll go back to it. Oho and Takayama did have that nice rivalry going, that they would just get these barroom blasts, these marathon fights. Oho just runs him out. Like Takayama wasn't there. So that was probably the first warning sign for me. Now that I'm thinking back on it, that something was wrong, that he did not stand and deliver to Oho. So Takayama's probably going to go back down to Juryo. A very unfortunate sort of end to his survival streak. I am hoping that Takayama is going to go down to Juryo and is going to realize that everybody down there is beneath him, and that he's going to just beat them all back up and come back. Because that's also been sort of the pattern in the past. That now, not the case with the Tomifuji, but typically when he's fighting people that are from Juryo, he does better. Now, that's my hope, that this isn't goodbye. This is just farewell for now, and we'll see you in 2023 when you get onto the January Banzuke. But he's toast, unfortunately. So next up is Terunofuji, 15 East, 6-9. May be spared by a hair on his chinny chin. So he gets an opening day Kaina Hineri, which is the spinning arm pull throw against Takayama, by the way, a guy who's losing on the struggle bus. That is like the beginning and unfortunately the end of brilliant Terunofuji sumo, which sucks because he starts off so strong. Like day one, he hits the crazy throw. And we're like, ooh, he's going for it. And then the rest of this is just a mess. Just a mess. Doesn't beat anybody who is standing out. So he does a leg pick against Daieisho, which again, welcome to the top division. Here's what you can look forward to. Daieisho got like put through his paces. And we'll get to him in a minute. But he has Enho syndrome at this point. Just everybody knows how to deal with Terunofuji. And you just keep him at arm's length. You wait for him to get too low or to make a mistake, and then you just slap him down. And that's what happened to him almost every time he lost. So you have fellow small people like Midorifuji or Nishikifuji, and to an extent Kotoeko, but Kotoeko also had trouble with it. Like, they're evolving their game. They're doing something different. I mean, I would say Ura, but he's not really small anymore. But it's very much you fight Ura differently. And that's the bucket that Terunofuji is in. You need to fight this person differently. And the thing is that it works against Terunofuji. And so he needs an evolution. Now, we had talked about Terunofuji needs to like lean into it and be like really mean and gritty and maybe shove somebody out and get all rude and tough. And maybe that's still the case. I think that he's going to be right here, 16 West, and just like on the precipice. And then all these other people are going to get dumped. And the message is going to be for Terunofuji, this is your last chance. So November may be the last we see of him if he doesn't get it together. Based on what we saw here, a 6-9 this far down, it's really only a matter of time. And that sucks because we're going to lose out on those crazy throws if he leaves. I don't want that. I want him to do leg picks, and I want him to do like running people behind. He did this to Okinomi. I think I fist pumped that he ran behind Okinomi and he like conga lined him out. Only Terunofuji is really doing that stuff these days. So we lose Terunofuji, we're going to lose all of that. Oh man, this is just going to be a rough rest of this list, unfortunately. Oh, next up, Tsurugisho, 5 and 10. I'll say it's like he was fighting underwater. Everything he did was like in slow motion. And that he's big, he's strong. Like when he gets the technique, it works. But like everything's moving around him so fast. Like they're advancing position fast. They're grabbing the belt. They're getting out of his way. And like he's got the abilities, but he's just not able to do anything about it. He cannot impose his will. Everybody's just faster than him. And so, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to again. Hoping that, like Takayama, he's able to bounce back up. Tsurugisho has been historically ping-ponging a little bit between top of Juryo, the bottom of the top division. This may just be the next volley in that ping-pong match. Well, but we won't know. I mean, every time somebody falls off the list, you're like, maybe this is the last we see of you. I hope not. All you can do is pray. Pray to the sumo gods. And they don't always listen. And to be fair, you don't want to listen to me for all this stuff. It'll make it boring. That happens, then, Hokutofuji just wins every Yusho, and then people stop watching sumo. It's gonna be bad. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Sumo gods, keep doing what you're doing. It's in good shape for the most part. I mean, there's a couple things. Whatever. I'm fine with the sumo gods right now. Not fine with Mitoryu, unfortunately. Megashiro 16 East, 5 and 10. So very interesting how the first run at it felt so different from Mitoryu and Hiradomi. Both with the same result, that they weren't able to pass muster. But the flavor of that was so drastically different. It's just fascinating. So for Mitoryu coming up, I feel like Mitoryu was just he got put through the hazing process. That everybody was bullying him. They were all picking on him. I feel like the pressure got to him a little bit. Anybody he beat, he actually won against. With the exception of Onosho, who's just not having a good time of it. All people who either are in or were in Juryo. So, excuse me, feels like there's some sort of a familiarity going on. That Mitoryu really only could get it together if he knew what was happening. So maybe it's just nerves. Maybe it's just a new experience thing. He's fighting a dozen people he's never fought before, and it's also all new, and it's just information overload, and he just buckles. So the hope is that it's today was just this tournament was just a big download session. He's just I don't know what to do about this. Oh, look at this. Oh, and just a little bit of a panic, getting shoved around. He got bullied for his lunch money 8 of those 10 times. It was a little rough, a little bit for him. I'm hoping he comes back. I'm hoping he can regroup. I don't know. With me, it's a little bit of a question mark. I kind of hope he's not a one-hit wonder, that we do get him back, but I'm not sure. I'm a little worried. I'm concerned, guys, that we won't get Mitoryu back. I wouldn't mind him taking another crack at it. I feel This is the way it is with some people. Oho did this, that he popped back in, and then he just got kicked out, and then the second time is when he's stuck. So maybe he needs another time to stay. But anyway, Midoriyu, I'll be seeing you next year. Or maybe you'll be a Jiryo visitor. Maybe fingers crossed on that. He's been doing that a while. Last person, Megashira 16 West, Hiradoumi 7 and 8. So where Midoriyu was, it felt very like decisive. We're all gonna just beat this guy up, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hiradoumi was a roller coaster of emotions. I think it's Hiradoumi anyway, and not Hiradoumi. I think it's Dome. I probably butchering it either way. I'm sorry, everybody. He is a roller coaster, Hiradoumi. It was highs and lows. It was wild to watch. Like every match he was in, there was something going on. So there's a lot of fire with Hiradoumi. It's a lot of like bursting with that sumo spirit, and it's everything you'd expect from like an uncut gem, I guess. It's like the rough around the edges sumo. He's got the raw talent, the charges, the offenses, the defense. He's doing reversal. He started out 3-0, like right here, 3-0 here to Umi. I'm like, ooh, this guy's going places, guys. Let's get it. Let's get it. I was hyped out of my mind, and then well, he almost squeaked it out. Aoiyama got him. He was 7-7. I was very, by the way, as a big Aoiyama fan, I was so conflicted on this match on the last day. I don't know, it's like I wanted Hiradoumi to win, to stay in the top division. I want more of him. I feel like I'm already like fidgety. I'm like, we're not gonna get Hiradoumi because he's 7-8 in the bottom rung, and there's no scraping that. But I'm like, Hiradoumi, there's so much going on with this guy. There's so much like raw potential in Hiradoumi. And so, like, that's in my mind. I'm just like, but I'm not going to go against Aoiyama. I can't do that. It's a betrayal. I can't. So, like, I was like, Aoiyama won it, but I was just like, oh, I don't know. I'm just glad the match is over. You know those days where you're just like, you don't want either person to lose. And so, like, you're almost, like, more upset that somebody has to lose, and it doesn't even matter who it wins at that point. I don't know. Anyway, Hiradoumi was a treat to watch. He's unfortunately not going to be with us, but like we're with Midoriyu, I'm not sure if he'll be back. Like Hiradoumi, he's definitely coming back. He is more than coming back. Like for him, this was all like, no, guys, I screwed it up this time, but don't worry, next time Hiradoumi is just going to come out of that gate. I'm like, that's the feeling I get out of this. He's just going to go on a tear. That's the hope. Anyway, so that's a whole lot of sumo, man. I feel like I've been watching all this, like everything all at once. Like it's an emotional trip today. Special prizes, a lot today. A lot, 4 special prizes. I feel like they're all deserved. Definitely a lot of star material. The Shukun show, the outstanding performance went to Tobizaru and Tamawashi. Both very well deserved, particularly for Tamawashi. The fighting spirit prize, the Kanto show, went to Takayasu. Also very well deserved. Takayasu fighting incredibly well. And then the Gino show, the technique prize goes to Wakatakakage, which, like, you hear all these, like, of course they won it. They did awesome. So, just good to see that many special prizes handed out. Sometimes they only give, like, 1 or 2, which is sort of like the Sumo Association saying, get it together, guys. But the fact that they showed 4 of them, they're like, Sumo Association is like, we like this sumo. And I agree with them. There's some good sumo. So, when it comes to the top down, so again, Mike, I feel like it's a relatively clean cut. So the Jiryo winner this time, all the way at the bottom, newbie Tochi Musashi wins the whole thing. By the way, he clinches it on day 13 and then loses out, which is a little funny. But hey, so I think he is, well, with the 11-4 and being Jiryo 14 East, I don't think the Jiryo winner is going to come up. I think he's going to be like here. So who is coming up then is the big question. So Azumaru, welcome back. The 9-6 is Jiryo 2. It's basically guaranteed. The Kageaki at 9-6, it's Jiryo 4. I feel like that's just barely enough. And then Atamifuji and Tohakuryu are here in the 8-7. So, like an 8-7, Bushozan is a maybe. Like if they wanted to slap Terunofuji, I feel like Bushozan gets in, but I don't see that happening. I think it's these 4. So the 8-7, I like normally the 8-7's a little iffy on Jiryo 3, but keep in mind again, we've got 3 people with double-digit losses near the bottom. So this, like, condemned. Oops. Condemned. And then again, like, if you're 7 and 8 on the absolute bottom rung, that's a very difficult hold. I don't think you're holding that. So that I look at that there's 4 people, possibly 5, but then I think Terichiyoshi is going to get the grace and be at the absolute bottom rung. So it's 4 people down, and then here's basically the 4 people with the positive records that will be coming up. That's my guess on it. And now we won't know what'll happen until the Banjuki comes out. Like the whole Sanyaku thing, shuffle, like it feels a little cleaner this time around, but you never know until it happens. By the way, Shimanoumi 4-11. Oof. I don't like that at all. Shimanoumi making me sad. I don't want to cry. But that is September. As always, thank you for listening. Please keep an eye out for live chats that will be spattered intermittently until November. We will have our prep show in November, probably a week after the Banjuki comes out. I think that's basically when the timing comes in. Oh man, this feels like a very Sumo Basho, if that makes any sort of sense. There's a lot of like raw emotion coming in, and definitely got that COVID nonsense behind us, which I think is a positive. Lots of highs, lots of lows, a little bit of everything. And now now Henk is a weird word to say these days. God, Takakeisho, what a joke. Oh my God, I'm gonna be laughing about that for weeks. But anyway, that's it. I'm out. Thanks again for your time, and I will be seeing you later.